Welcome to day one. We all lived through a president who was assisted in his elevation to the White House by illegal assistance from a hostile foreign power, which he welcomed. He was impeached twice. He was thrown out of office after one term. His supporters then mounted a violent and deadly attack on the U.S. Capitol to try to keep him in power. So yeah, now it's clean up on aisle 45 time. And for a long while yet, it is going to be clean up on aisle 45. I mean, we start our coverage tonight of the first full day of the Biden administration, but we admittedly have to do it with a little bit of sort of bifurcated vision. I mean, the new White House team, the new administration, has clearly taken the wheel with confidence, with what seems to be quite assured knowledge of where they intend to go, and they appear to know most of how they're going to get there. This is not a bunch of play actors or amateurs or people learning government for the first time from something other than Schoolhouse Rock. These are people who know government and, by and large, who have worked at high levels in government before. And they have lots of what you might call low-hanging fruit to pick in terms of policy, in terms of obvious, clearly needed, meritorious, non-controversial policy that the last administration just left hanging. So, yeah, duh, we need a national strategy to get Americans vaccinated. We need one of those. That's low-hanging fruit because we didn't have one of those things before. Quote, Biden and his advisors are inheriting no coronavirus vaccine distribution plan to speak of from the Trump administration. One of the biggest shocks the Biden team had to digest during the transition period was a complete lack of a vaccine distribution strategy under former President Donald Trump, even weeks after multiple vaccines were approved for use in the United States. One source telling CNN, quote, there is nothing for us to rework. We are going to have to build everything from scratch. So yeah, duh. A country with the worst coronavirus epidemic on Earth, a country that now has multiple vaccines available to it, yeah, that country, duh, should have a national vaccination program of some kind. But apparently the Biden team is having to build that now from jump because the outgoing administration never thought to do that. That's what's called low-hanging fruit in terms of policy aims. And yes, we need COVID help to schools and small businesses that have been moving heaven and earth on their own without help to adapt and adapt and adapt and adapt and try to stay open and operating under pandemic conditions. Yeah, duh. Let's do that stuff and right away. And even on national security, it is low-hanging fruit. I mean, if the previous administration had not been so bizarrely and insistently supplicant to Russia, we would have had the Director of National Intelligence doing an assessment, for example, for the administration on the huge cyber attack, the huge SolarWinds cyber attack on the U.S. government within the last few months. Reportedly the worst cyber attack on the United States in history. Had we not had such a weird administration when it came to Russia for the past 4 years, you might expect that the intelligence community would be working on trying to assess responsibility for that and how to handle it, how to respond. Also, do you remember the reporting that Russia paid bounties to Taliban fighters and other fighters in Afghanistan? Russia paid cash rewards to those fighters for them killing U.S. troops in Afghanistan. You will recall that President Trump never raised that issue, never objected to that at all with Russia, never seemed bothered by it, never seemed to care. So yes, now, belatedly, the newly sworn-in Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines, has been tasked with assessing Russia's culpability for that as well. And this is the most basic, most fundamental, most bottom-line national security stuff. Direct attacks on the American government and on Americans in uniform that were never defended against by the previous president, that he, in fact, ignored and thereby excused. Attacks on the United States that he allowed to happen. When it comes to national security strategy, there isn't much lower hanging fruit than that. So that will now change, right? This is not complicated stuff. There isn't any high-level complex decision-making that needs to go into starting stuff like this. Duh, we should figure out how to vaccinate the country. And yeah, we shouldn't let a hostile foreign government attack us and kill our soldiers with impunity, without us doing anything about it, not even raising objections to it. This is like, ask a 5-year-old what's good stuff for the government to do. And so this is one level at which we are watching the news in our country. The outgoing administration was so incompetent and so indifferent to the very basic responsibilities of governance, including the defense of the United States, that the first stuff they need to do, you can't believe wasn't already being done. The first stuff they have to do is to call it ABC is unfair to the alphabet. Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.